All right. We are live. How is everyone? Hold on, let's see. The screen to access the video. Oh, tap the screen. That new. All right, there we go. Tap screen. We are live in all the places. How is everyone doing this Monday? This is our first Monday back for Murray's Law. If you are new to me, I am attorney LaConya Murray. I am brand attorney, owner of Off the Mark IP Solutions, where we help entrepreneurs protect their brand through trademarks, copyrights, and contracts. We are going to jump into some questions. Today is Murray's Law. So if you're not familiar with Murray's Law, let's just take a step back and talk about what Murray's Law is. So Murray's Law is our live Q&A session. The questions that I'm taking today are from the Genius Lounge. And if we have time after everything, then I will take questions from Instagram and from YouTube and from the people who are watching us live in the group. I do need to just make sure that is not what I wanted to do. Okay, it is full screen. Cool. So we have some really good questions today. Hey, how are you? I'm going to turn your camera off. Well, no, you can keep your camera on, actually. Hold on. I just want to make sure, because we are streaming this to YouTube, so if you don't want to show up in all the places, just be mindful of that. But yeah, so we're good. So we have some really good questions today. So I'm really excited about the questions that we have. And we're going to jump right in because this is a 30-minute session. I am respectful of your time. Thank you for spending your Monday with me. So let's get into it. The first question is for all of my authors out there. So if you are an author or an aspiring author, let me know in the comments, in the chat, that you're writing and what you're writing. You can let me know what you're doing. So this question is this. I've interviewed a few people for my upcoming book. Do they need to sign something? So writing a book, you're interviewing people. Do they need to sign something? That's the question. The answer is yes, they do. And the reason that you want them to sign an agreement, and what you want them to sign, first of all, is an interview release. And the reason you want them to sign that is because you want to be able to use their interview and statements from their interview in peace. That release is going to give you permission to record the interview. It's going to give you permission to use the statements. It's going to grant you the rights to use their likeness. So if that's the agreement that you all have to use their name, you can use their name. You can use descriptions of them and anything of that nature that you've gotten from them. So that's one of the things that the release will do. It also will allow you to use that content without having to worry about them coming to sue you later because of the content that you use. So it gives you a peace of mind. Both parties are on the same page about what is and what is not going to be used and how it's going to be used. So that's the question is, what do you need? Do I need to have them sign something? Yes. And if I look at this question, what I notice is it's past tense. I have interviewed a few people. Now I'm getting ready to interview a few people. And this is my challenge with that. How do I say this? Ask me beforehand. Say, hey, I'm getting ready to do X, Y, and Z. How do I protect myself? Because what you don't want to happen is to be in a position where you can't use the work that you've already recorded. Because what if they decide they don't want to sign it? Or they decide that I don't want you to use my statement anymore, which is why you get that written agreement up front, because they have every right to do that, is to pull back. But when you have that release, now they can't do that. But it's happened when people will go through the whole interview and be like, no, don't use it. You can't, don't. So I appreciate this person reaching out to make sure they have everything in order before their book is published. But really the time to plan is before. Like when you're planning the book and what you need to get done, make sure you leave room for the legal part of it, which is why I like this next question. This next question is, I'm launching a podcast. What do I need to protect it? Write that question because it is planning to make sure they have everything right that they're gonna launch legally. And I love that. I love that. I love that. So if you are launching a podcast, so just like I asked how many authors we have today, let me ask, how many podcasters or aspiring podcasters do we have joining us tonight? So if you're on Instagram, let me know. If you're on YouTube, let me know. If you're joining us from the Genius Lounge, straight from the place, let me know in the chat if you are a podcaster or if you're thinking about launching a podcast. So here's the deal. When you get ready to launch a podcast, you need a couple of things. One, you have to consider what type of podcast you're going to have. If you're going to have, so our podcast is mainly me, but we do have some guests. So if you plan on having guests on your podcast, the first thing you want to make sure you have lined up is a podcast agreement. And you want to send it out when you send the calendar invite for them to schedule their time for the interview. You want to send this agreement out. Just make it part of your process where they read the terms and conditions, they agree to it, and then they pick a date for you all to meet and record. And what this podcast agreement will do is similar to the interview release. What it allows you to do is to use their likeness. It allows you to use their statements. It puts you in a position where they can't come back and say, hey, I want you to take it down. I don't want to do this anymore. And it also puts you in a position where you can go through and record the podcast and then be like, I don't feel like this is not this. We've had a change of plans. This is no longer where we're going content wise, and you're not under any obligations to use that content. So that's why you want a podcast agreement. And can I just say really quick, and I'm getting ready to get into some legal tea. I am, but can I just say how excited I am? Like, I'm so happy to see more subject matter experts that are becoming entrepreneurs. Like, I love that people are using their education and their expertise in order to like create these products and these services that makes money for them. Like, they get to choose their own value. They get to charge their own value, and that value is their full value. It's not something that somebody said, oh, you're only worth this. They get to choose that. And so that makes me like really, really happy. And we have a lot of clients that are subject matter experts, and we see a lot of people that are subject matter experts. If you are a subject matter expert, let me know in the comments. Give me a SME, and then let me know what your topic is. What are your authority on? Let us know what it is that you do in the comments. And I'm going to come over here to YouTube really quick and see what we got going on over here. And if you're watching on YouTube, say hey, because I can't see who's watching on YouTube. And then on Instagram, got to turn my head to the side like so, but I can't read like that. So I will come back and read the comments in all the places. But if you're a subject matter expert, like kudos to you. Kudos to you for just taking control of your own life and your own value by making products and services and serving the people. And let me tell you, we do have something available for our subject matter experts. If you are someone who is coaching, you're speaking, you're a podcaster, writing books, we do have a contract template for you. We are going to drop it next week, but it's going to drop to people in the Genius Lounge first at a discount. It's a bundle with all those contracts. It's going to drop for $397. So make sure, if you're watching us on YouTube or the lounge, make sure you join, YouTube or Instagram, make sure you join the lounge so you can be the first one to know and get it at that special price. And let's see what we got over here. Ooh, urban education. Yes. You think about creating a podcast. I love podcasts. I love podcasting. For me, it's the best form of content because I can just get on there and I can talk. Of course, I have my notes and things, but I don't have to worry about looking like anything. I can just get and do and put the information out there. And I know that more and more people are getting into podcasts. One of the things that I learned from my market research is that my audience is more inclined to listen to a podcast than to watch a video on YouTube because they just don't have the time. So definitely do your market research, see where your people are at, and see if it makes sense for you. And that's one thing I would say is you don't want to create a podcast because everyone's creating a podcast. What are your people doing? What is your audience doing? Are you going to find them on that platform? And if so, do it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, are you all ready for this legal tea? I told you all that I have some legal tea. Some of it's a little old, but the story was recirculating. And so I really wanted to talk about it. I saw it, and when I originally saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, good for her. And I'm talking about Jessica Simpson. So Jessica Simpson, back in November, she finally won back her brand, which is great. But what I really love about the story is how she built her fashion empire without manufacturing a single stitch of clothes, without manufacturing a single shoe. I love, 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 love that, because I'm always telling you that your intellectual property can be used. It's not just a sheet of paper, right? It can be used for more than identifying your particular brand. It can be used to create an additional stream of revenue. And that's exactly what she did. She created this entire billion-dollar fashion industry back in the early 2000s, when everyone else was, looking and seeking out manufacturers. She was finding licensing opportunities. Licensing opportunities. That's the word you should write down and just put somewhere in your back pocket or somewhere. Just keep with you. So as you build your brand, you can also look for those licensing opportunities. So she had a connection with someone at Nine West, and they would essentially, he would pick out shoes and they would license the design and white label it under her brand. Everybody wants to, be have an apparel line, but what happens if you connect with another party that's already doing it so that you don't have to incur that expense? There's something to think about. I really like that. But what happened with Jessica Simpson and her brand, the way that she lost it, is because as she was doing that brand, the person that she was working with her mom, and she was working with another party, and that person passed away. And he was the main person that was helping with the licensing. So when he passed away, they went to find someone else, and they end up selling the majority share of the brand to this company that just didn't do very well. They were kind of like so I read one story that said they were kind of like a pyramid scheme. What they would do was buy these brands and kind of just run them dry, and then buy more brands in order to and do the same thing in order to keep funds. Well, that ran out, and they ended up going bankrupt. When they went bankrupt, they end up had to get rid of all their assets, and part of those assets was the majority share of the Jessica Simpson brand. So after years and years of fighting and coming up with the money, at one point she was like, look, if we have to sell these houses, we're going to sell these houses to get my name back. And I completely understand that. But they were able to do it. She didn't have to sell or lose her home, but the brand is now hers. So it's just a couple of things with that. And I don't know the situation to talk about, why she would give a majority share of her brand to anyone. I don't know. But this kind of piggybacks on this week's podcast. Did anyone listen to this week's podcast? If you listen to this week's podcast, the Only Eugene's podcast, we just released it. No, it wasn't this week. It was last week. Look at me. I'm all off because this is my first official day back in the office. So last week's podcast, where we were talking about the problems and challenges you can have with personal brands. And this is one right here. When you give away majority share, now your name is out there and you don't have any control over it. So that's one of the dangers that we talked about in last week's podcast. If you did not listen to it, make sure you go and you check it out. Check it out. And hey, Sandra, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube. I saw that you were in the lounge. I know last time you were having problems with hearing, but I'm glad that you were able to make it. I really appreciate you. Let's see. I cannot read sideways. But we have a subject matter expert in leadership, operations, people, and management. Yes, come through with the leadership, operations, people, and management. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, someone wants to know, what is SME? I just shortened that to subject matter expert. So you wouldn't have to type out subject matter expert, because I know how it is when you're trying to answer a question when someone's on live, you're like, there's a lot of stuff to type. So I just shortened it to SME. But subject matter expert, in case you were wondering what that meant, is a person that is an authority on a particular matter or subject. So that's what I mean by a subject matter expert. You are the go-to person. Like for me, I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to trademarks, copyrights, contract. Like that's my jam. That's what I do. So cool beans. So that was the first little bit of tea that I had for you. So she has her brand back. The reason I wanted to talk about it today was for twofold. One was for you all to, I want to really encourage you all to think about licensing and how you can expand your brand without incurring all the expense of venturing into new markets, right? And then the second reason I brought it up was because the dangers and the challenges with having a personal brand. When you have a personal brand, when your brand and your product or service is you, what happens when you lose it? We saw it happen with the McDonald's brothers. We saw it happen with Willie Amos, where they just, weren't able at all to use their brand, use their name. Like both of them were sued. They sold the brand and they both were sued when they tried to enter the same market, just using their name. So I just want you to consider that as you're building your brand and building it out and naming it. Like, should I put everything as as Jessica Simpson, or should I do something else other than that? Now, this other story, let me see if I can pull it up. Now, this other story, listen, honey, listen. What do I tell you about contracts? What I tell you about contracts is, first of all, when you have an agreement and an understanding with someone, put it in writing. Put it in writing. Oh, I love it. I do the same thing. Oh, I'm on the big screen. Sandra, she moved to YouTube so she can, cast me on the TV. Appreciate it. Okay, so this next story is Fat Joe and Remy Ma. They win the All the Way. Now I know y'all know the song, All the Way. Okay, I won't sing it, but All the Way Up lawsuit. So they were sued by, who is this guy? His name is, he's a rapper named Eric Elliott. I don't know Mr. Elliott. I don't know him, but he was he had something to do with the production of All the Way Up. And he's suing them because he's saying that the contract he signed was under duress and that he should be compensated more. So first of all, he signed a contract. They met at IHOP. He signed this contract that gave away all his rights for $5,000 and maybe like an omelet special. I don't know. But now he's coming back and saying, oh, I didn't get enough money. They promised me that this would just be the front part of it, that I would get more money later on down the road. So now later on down the road comes and he's like, I need more money. The challenge with that is that his contract said, Here's the contract. The plain language of the contract said that no additional compensation will be due to Elliott. So in those situations where people are promising you things that are not in the contract, you do not sign it because you have that right. You do not sign it and say, hey, I have an understanding that later at a certain point, we're going to relook at this compensation. So I need that language to be put in the contract. Don't sign it because they said that it's going to be, we'll look at it later, because people do that all the time. But when you go to court and sue, the judge can't go off of anything but what's in the realm of the contract. That's all they can do is what's in the four corners. They call it four corners because the paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, past four corners. That's all they can look at. So if it's not in this contract, and then you go to sue and you tell the judge, well, he said this and he said that, the judge says, well, I have this paper here and it says this. I don't have any reason to look at anything else because this is the agreement. So I just thought that was really a really sad story, an unfortunate story, but something that happens all the time. And not just in the music industry, in all types of industries, simply because people are in a hurry, I guess, to sign a contract or for this opportunity. Like they're so excited about the opportunity that they don't think about the long-term effects. And if this is really what you want to do, like, I don't know what I don't think it said what his role was in it, but for him not to be receiving any type of royalties or any type of anything outside of this $5,000, especially for that song was a hit song. There's no telling how much money they made off that song. Yeah. So it also named French Montana as well in the lawsuit. And this is the funny part to me. Maybe it's just funny to me because I don't know Fat Joe as a anything other than a rapper. But he said he signed the contract because he was intimidated by his street reputation. Maybe people in New York know about his street reputation. I don't know. But the judge was like, well, that's all great, but you signed this contract and you don't have any proof. Like it would be one thing if he had proof of intimidation, like, threatening emails and things of that nature or signs of duress, but he didn't have that. He just said, hey, this is why I did that. Cool beans. So that's what I have for you all today. The questions were really great. So thank you so much for submitting those questions to the Genius Lounge. Diana, thank you so much for joining us from Tampa, Florida. Hey, how are you doing? And all right. So are there any questions? Do we have any questions from the lounge, from the YouTube, from Instagram? Let's see. You have an LLC. Oh, you came in late. You're like, people throwing up initials. Let me throw up some initial abbreviations. So we were talking about subject matter experts. So Diana, why don't you tell us what you're a subject matter expert on? We actually just started, we have a contract template bundle that we're putting together for subject matter experts, because right now everyone's taking their education and their experience and they're creating services and products and different things. And we want to make sure that their genius is protected. So exactly, you're a subject matter expert in human resources. So, and she is. So if you are in the Genius Lounge and you need a human resource consultant, definitely connect with Diana, because she can help you out. Let's see, a few more minutes. Let's see if I can read this to the side. Cool beans. Well, I don't see any more questions, and I do not believe in wasting time. So if there are no more questions, all hearts and minds are clear. We're going to exit this thing out. But what I want you to do is make sure that you join us next month, because we're going to do this thing again. Every second Monday of the month, we come here for Murray's Law. So join us. And if you haven't joined our free community, just go ahead and click the link on my bio on YouTube and on Instagram to get you to the Genius Lounge. It's a free community, but you'll have access to things like discounted consultations. You have access to be the first one to know when we drop new products. And hold on, we have a question coming in. So her question is, I have an LLC. For multiple businesses to be under, please explain an umbrella LLC. Okay. And I don't know if Florida has what's called a series LLC, where essentially you have like a holding company, you have your main LLC here, and then you have branches coming off, and they're going to be other either LLCs or corporation or other something, right? That's not necessarily a doing business as, but they're actually talking about an umbrella. This main one is more like a holding company. It holds the assets for these companies. I typically, if you have businesses that are related, but you need to keep the assets separate, that's something that's one of the reasons why you want to create an umbrella LLC. I see it a lot with real estate, but I hope that answers your question. And Diana, if you have any other questions, definitely just schedule a consultation, because you get free consultations because you're an insider. But you have different businesses. So if you want to, like notary and vending, what I would say is let's talk about it so I can give you some legal advice instead of general information. But notary and vending, if you want to have a main LLC here and then create separate LLCs for each of those with this one as the holding company, that's something that can be done. Like I said, I'm not sure if Florida has a series LLC, but definitely, okay, great. You're going to schedule a consultation. Awesome. Let's see what else we have. All right. Well, we are great. We're great. We're running right on time. I will see you all. I will see my insiders at the end of the month. We're going to get together and do maybe a planning session for the quarter. If you all haven't done that, we'll just get together. Maybe we'll just get together and say, hey, Happy New Year. All right. Good night. You guys take care.